Hey, welcome to this week's Worry Free Financial Podcast. If this is the first time you've tuned in, I just want to say thank you for joining, and just want to give you a quick summary of what I'm trying to do here. I'm really just trying to get information to people in a way that's easily understandable, that can maybe help make your financial life more worry free. So I'm just trying to help you guys with that, get some information about what's going on currently in the economy. I'm answering any questions or suggested topics that come in, but really just trying to get you guys some information. So I'm going to just dive in, and then feel free always to give me some suggestions. But first I'm just going to talk a little bit about the housing market before we jump into anything else. And right now is a great time to refinance. Rates are approaching all-time lows. What I would say is that lenders are getting more and more strict on the loans that they're providing. And so what I would say is if you feel like you have good job security and you've had a continuing job for the last couple of years and you have a good credit score, right now probably is a great time for you to refinance. And you can always reach out to me at eric@ccm.loans, and I'll have that information as well as my license information as a mortgage originator at the end of the video. You can feel free to reach out to me there. One of the things that's a little concerning is we are seeing in our rental market about a third of people did not pay their rent or didn't pay on time this month. So that's a little bit concerning, especially the domino effect of people that rent their properties not getting those payments, what that means for them. And so this is actually probably going to get a little worse before it gets better, and there's really not a whole lot that we can do right now to prevent that, since the government has enforced no evictions due to no payments. And so it almost has potentially been an enticement for people not to pay their rent. So hopefully things will start to get better here before too long, but that is a little bit of a concern. The other thing that the government did try to do to kind of help the mortgage side of this is the forbearance agreement, and I would strongly urge people not to do this unless it's absolutely the only opportunity for you to get by right now. One of the things a lot of people don't understand is that this forbearance isn't just an excused loan payment. It is basically adding those loan payments up over however long the forbearance period is. So if you have, for the month of March, you didn't pay, or maybe we'll say April, since we're in April now. Say April, you don't pay your mortgage payment because you're in forbearance. And you don't pay another payment until July. So you're going to have your April payment, your May payment, your June payment, and your July payment all due in July. So it's really effectively a balloon payment, and not many people are going to be able to make that payment at that point, and that note will default in 4 months down the road. And so it's really just delaying the inevitable if that's your only opportunity right now. If you pay any attention to the stock market, you'll see that has actually bounced back up quite a bit recently. But I still am hesitant to say that we've seen the worst. I think that we really haven't seen and don't really even know how much damage there's going to be to the supply chain and where unemployment will get to. I'm continuing to invest in retirement the same way I always have. But as far as investing in individual stocks right now, what I'm doing is kind of pushing the brakes on that and kind of just waiting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks. We did see, again, another massive amount of unemployment claims come in this week, 6.6 million this week. So that makes 16.8 million unemployment claims just in the last 3 weeks, mostly related to COVID-19. And so potentially there will be some people there this week that will start to get the $600 additional unemployment benefits that are beyond what you would normally get through state benefits, but that will start to come in soon. And then here's some good news for people that maybe have a part-time job or are a contractor or self-employed, is that that there's going to be people that wouldn't normally qualify for unemployments that may qualify under the CARES Act now. And you'll also see that Washington State is starting to provide here in the next couple of weeks extended unemployment benefits for those people, contractors, self-employed, part-time. So you should look into that as well. If you weren't previously qualified, you may be qualified now. As far as the stimulus checks that are coming out, I think most people are aware of this now. Probably in the next week to two, most people that have direct deposit on file with the IRS will get those checks in their bank account. But anybody that does not have direct deposit, you still may be somewhere between 4 and 20 weeks out before you get those. It's going to be dependent on income. And most people will get $1,200 per person, $2,400 if you're married filing jointly, plus $500 for each child under 17 years old. Unfortunately, this didn't help people that are maybe college students that are still claimed as dependents on their parents' tax return, but aren't able to get this stimulus check. The stimulus check is going to be based on 2019 income. So if you filed your taxes already for 2019, that's how they will base that on. There are some different limits. You can look those up, but there's limitations on what your income is, whether you qualify or whether you're going to get a reduced amount. But it's going to be based on 2019. If you didn't file in 2019, it'll be based on 2018. If you didn't file either of those years, but you still are eligible for the stimulus check, what you will do is you'll get it. You most likely will get it unless you filed unless you're a senior, retired, and you don't file, and you'll get one earlier than the end of the year. But unless you file a simple tax return, you probably aren't going to get it until you file your return in 2020, and you will at that point get that as a tax credit. And that'll be available for anybody that doesn't get it, that should have gotten it. There will be people that are probably going to be overlooked through this by them, the government just trying to get these checks out as quick as possible. There will be people that are probably get it and maybe shouldn't get it based on what their change in income between last year and this year is. So if you've just gotten a big raise and now you don't qualify for that, you're going to want to not spend that. If you get that check, you're going to want to hold on to that because you will probably be paying that back when you file your 2020 taxes. And others that maybe are feeling like you got left out, you may be able to be eligible still in with your 2020 tax return. Some troubling news with this is that I don't think this is going to be enough for the government to kind of keep things going smoothly. A third of people feel like this is not enough to even get them by for a month. So there's definitely some concern there. And for those people, this is where I want to spend the bulk of the rest of this time, is just talking about what should you do if you are in a situation, some of this will apply to anybody, but if you're in a situation where you've seen a loss of job, loss of, even just a loss of some of your income, here's kind of just a list of things you can do now to maybe cut back on costs, make sure that you're spending your money on the things that you should be spending your money on during this time. And so I'm just going to kind of go through those. Two things I want to just highlight before we even get to the things we should stop, or that we should maybe stop spending money on, is two things that we should be spending money on that maybe we aren't, is health insurance and term life insurance. Those are two areas I would highly recommend that you do. It's kind of been this double whammy. People lose their job, they lose their health insurance, and then if they get COVID-19, all of a sudden they're going to be getting some pretty big bills. And so those are two things that I would consider very fundamental parts of your financial plan, is having insurance. There's several different types, but those are two that are more specific to this point in time that I would recommend you do. Create a budget. If you've never done that before, maybe the simplest way for you to do it is to just literally just grab a piece of paper, draw a line right down the middle, and on the left side put all your income, any regular pay you're getting, any unemployment, anything you're doing for side jobs. Write that down on the left side. On the right side, I'd start with any of your essential needs, so rent or mortgage payment, paying any of the debt payments that you maybe have, your utilities, your groceries, any of that kind of stuff that's just you have to to live. So make sure you're doing that, and then add anything else that you're currently spending money on that maybe is more of a want. So you're kind of making a income and expense, and then you're dividing your expense up into what you need and then what you want. And this is a good way for you to also determine what are some areas you need to make some cuts in. I know right now there's not a lot of stuff you can be doing, but you can cut back on takeout. You can cut back on maybe you're renting a bunch of movies that maybe you could watch movies you already have, or find some free streaming services that you can watch some movies on, rather than paying a significant amount to continuously rent movies, things like that in this time. If you've never prepared a budget before, it's probably not going to work out perfectly right away, but this is just, you're going to start to see things that you didn't realize you were spending money on, or how much money you were spending on these things. For a lot of people, one thing I would recommend is if you feel like you're spending money on things that, or more money on things that you shouldn't be, is we've got to figure out a way to break those habits. And one of the best ways to do that, I think, is to basically just start a journal where you're recording every single purchase you make every single day, and you're writing down whether that's a want or a need. And as you start to see over time, over 2 to 3 weeks of doing this, you're going to start to see all the amount of money that you're spending on things that you want and not that you absolutely need. And you'll be able to make some cuts there, and I think you'll be surprised at the amount of money you actually can save by just being more aware of where your money's going. If you haven't had a budget before, you're throwing a dart at a dartboard with your eyes closed. You don't have your goal. You're just shooting in the dark. So you're gonna miss that goal every time if you don't have it set. So you need to have a budget if you're gonna try to get on top of your finances. And here's some tips on things that you can do to just maybe cut back on some costs right now. Is maybe stop paying for cable. If you do like to watch a lot of TV, maybe consider getting a Roku stick or a Fire Stick, and get a subscription to Netflix, Hulu. If you already have Amazon Prime, take advantage of the Prime Video. Maybe consider Sling TV or even YouTube TV subscriptions that are most likely less expensive than what you're paying for your cable. Shop around for your car insurance. I know a lot of car insurance providers right now are actually giving refunds basically for non-usage right now. Insurance companies are not having to pay out nearly the amount in claims that they normally would have, because there isn't hardly anybody on the streets right now. So you may, if you aren't one of the people of an insurance provider that's giving you a refund, or maybe even if you are, one of the things I would consider is if you have multiple vehicles and you're not using all of them right now, or don't have to be using all of them right now, is either cancel insurance or go down to more of like a storage insurance rate. You'll save quite a bit of money on that, so I would recommend doing that. Stop doing your takeout and renting those movies. Maybe consider, most of us haven't been at home as much previously than we are now, and so maybe even consider turning your thermostat down a little bit to try and save a little money. Consider maybe switching your cell phone provider. There may be other options out there that instead of paying $150 a month, you can pay $50 a month. And so I would just look around and see what you can find, see what deals are out there. Another thing is, instead of paying for a fee for a rental for your internet router every month, to buy your own and basically save that money as well. I do have a book here that it's very basic, some of the stuff in here, but it has some great information. It's called Pogue's Basic Money. It has a lot of great tips in here for ways that you can save some money. And if you were to take quite a few of the examples in here, I think that you would find that you could probably save thousands of dollars a year, especially along with some of the other stuff that we've already talked about. Other than that, as far as just one more final thought, just with back on the investment side of things, is my recommendation for investing is you're always looking at a long-term plan. And it's kind of the tortoise and hare example, is that over time, having the slow and steady. You're not going to try and time the market and everything. That slow and steady is going to win the race. And so I would recommend to stay the course of whatever you've been doing. If you haven't been contributing to retirement, I would start making a same contribution every single month. That way you're taking advantage of something called dollar cost averaging. Over time you're going to balance out the ebbs and flows of the market. And right now, in a time where the market is a little lower, you're basically buying at a discount. And so you actually, when you're buying that way, you should be actually hoping for dips in the market where you are seeing discounts. And so that's just one more little tip that I'd like to say. And then feel free to shoot me any questions after this video gets posted. Any financial coach related questions, go ahead and send an email to worryfreefinancial@gmail.com. Anything for mortgage or refinance related, send those to eric@ccm.loans, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, or even help you along the way through a refinance or a purchase of a home. Thank you all for tuning in today, and we will see you next week.